Hi, my name is Kris Castro, and this is my story. Ever since high school, I've been an easygoing woman with a passionate zeal for life and fully capable of tackling any challenges that came my way. Jesus has been my best friend since childhood and always at the center of my life. For decades, I watched the Lord come through for me pretty much in any situation. And then one day, in my late 40s, I felt the Lord fail me in such a huge way that I began to question everything about his character, and I wondered if I could ever trust him again. During this time, I was experiencing a very intense season of injustice, continual false accusations, and oppressive condemnation from somebody very close to me. During that time, I pleaded for the Lord to intervene over and over, but he just was totally silent. And in that silence, bitterness, anger, and resentment against the Lord and my circumstances took root inside me. For 2 years, those feelings simmered and boiled daily at various degrees. And then one day, to my complete surprise, my anger turned into tangible rage. In that moment, I lost all control and really scared myself. It was then that I knew I needed help, and I really wondered if I'd ever get back to the easygoing woman I used to be. The help I found was through Celebrate Recovery, a Christian 12-step program that helps people process their hurts, habits, and hang-ups with the Lord. CR became my lifeline back to sanity as the Holy Spirit led me through each step of surrender and forgiveness to a deeper level of healing and recovery. As I reflect back on those years of injustice, emotional pain, and brokenness, I realize something. The betrayal I felt against God, well, it was because I couldn't imagine why a loving king would allow me to suffer so much for so long. When I finally allowed Jesus to be Almighty King over my entire life and truly surrendered to him, it was then that I realized a loving king will never override somebody's free will, even if one of his kids has to suffer. But what he will do is redeem that very painful circumstance in his perfect timing. The Lord brought beauty out of my ashes through a mysterious paradox. Instead of rescuing me, he left me in that very painful circumstance to grow my faith at a much deeper level than I ever thought possible, which bore more fruit than I ever could have imagined. Through that paradox, I began to understand who the Holy Spirit truly is. And the more in tune I became with the Holy Spirit, the easier it was to hear the Lord's voice, which provided wisdom and guidance whenever I needed it. After I completed my 12-step program, the Lord surprised me by inviting me on a crazy adventure with him across the country. Through that adventure, I was completely dependent on him. One day at a time, and often 1 hour at a time, for over 3 months and more than 12,000 miles. It was the most amazing experience I've ever had, and I never once lacked for anything. Money and provision showed up exactly when I needed it, and often in miraculous ways that only the Lord could have arranged. I look back at the last 7 years in awe. If I had not gone through that period of intense brokenness, I never would have attended Celebrate Recovery. The CR tools I learned led to a place of total surrender. True surrender developed new spiritual gifts, and those gifts prepared me for that crazy adventure. If I had never gone on that crazy adventure, I never would have learned to walk in deeper intimacy with the Lord, leading me to experience a more consistent state of inner peace, that strange, restful calm in the middle of a storm, trusting the Lord with all my needs and surrendering everything to his perfect will. I'm over 50 now, And despite everything in my life still being pretty unpredictable, I am experiencing more joy now than I ever have previously. How is that possible? Well, it's because I have found my security in the Lord, not in my finances, not in my stuff, and certainly not in my circumstances. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know I am God." It is a short verse packed with a lot of power. As I live out that verse every day, I stand before the Lord as a faithful warrior and beloved daughter, diligently trusting in His unchangeable character and doing my best to see everything from God's eyes rather than my own. Please know you are not watching this video by accident. Regardless of what situation you are in now, I promise the Lord is there with you. Even if you can't feel it, and especially if nothing makes sense and everything seems unfair. The Lord wants to bring beauty out of your ashes just like He did mine. But He needs your permission to begin that transformation process by surrendering everything to Him. It's ironic, but I've learned the more I give up control, the more freedom I actually receive. And when I let Jesus be in the driver's seat of my entire life, I can confidently wait, resting in the Lord, trusting He's going to help me with any challenges that come my way.